The soft cooing sounds of our 8-month-old son, Leo, usually brought a quiet kind of warmth to my chest, but today there was only a biting emptiness. As I held him in my arms, my wife Clara perched anxiously on the edge of our old floral sofa, her eyes, once deep pools of affection, now glued to Leo's face with a strange, fevered intensity. "Look at our little man," she murmured, stroking his downy hair. Her words, once a cherished symbol of everything we'd built together, now grated on me like jagged glass lodged somewhere deep in my throat. Our families were gathered in my parents' living room, the space that had always felt safest, the place where Clara and I announced our engagement, where Leo had taken his first wobbling steps, and where laughter had once come as easy as breathing. But now every face was drawn and tense, their eyes darting nervously between Clara and me. My parents, Clara's parents, her younger sister Anna, each one knew a storm was coming, though none had any idea how violently it would shatter everything we thought we knew. Clara's voice, a little too high, tried to fill the aching silence. "Is everything okay, David? You've been so quiet all day." I stared down at Leo, his serene innocence a cruel reminder of the lie I was about to expose, the lie my heart had been choking on for months. I placed Leo gently in my mother's arms, her worried glance meeting mine for just a moment. I stood, walking to the mahogany side table where I'd placed the envelopes, sealed, heavy, humming with accusation and dread. "These came in the mail this morning," I said, holding up the envelope. "The results of a paternity test." Clara's face collapsed, her hand flying to her throat, eyes wide with a terror she couldn't hide. The room went silent. The usually bustling energy of our family gatherings replaced with suffocating calm. With a single motion, I tore the envelope open, the sound stark and final in the quiet. I handed Clara the sheet inside, stark, black lettering. "DNA results." As she read, color drained from her face, her hands trembling, her breath stuttering, and every unspoken truth seemed to hang in the air, heavy as a thundercloud. "That can't be right," she stammered, voice thin and broken. "Oh, I assure you it is," I replied, my words hard and unforgiving. "According to these results, Leo is not my son." The silence was absolute. Even Anna's gasp barely registered in the dense, shocked air. My mother drew Leo closer, glaring at Clara with an anger I'd never seen. Clara's father looked buried under decades in an instant. Anna stared with open disdain. I locked eyes with Clara. "Who is his father?" Tears spilled over her carefully constructed world, folding in on itself. "I didn't mean to," she sobbed. "It just happened." My rage burned hotter, a baby Clara, months of lies and deceit. "You brought another man's child into our home and had the nerve to call him ours." Every word landed heavy, pounding away at the fragile facade of our marriage. "Pack your things," I ordered, pointing to the door. "You're leaving." Clara's eyes widened, desperation cracking through the shock. "Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't care," I said, voice finally as cold as it felt inside. "And take him with you." My mother reluctantly handed Leo back to Clara, her look more horror than sympathy. I felt a whisper of grief but pressed it down. This wasn't my son and the lie had to end. Clara fumbled to get Leo into his carrier, sobbing uncontrollably. Her parents and Anna stood mute, unable to meet my gaze. I had become a stranger to them in a single searing moment. As she staggered to the door, I flung it open and then slammed it closed behind her and Leo, the echo reverberating through the hollow silence. "David, are you sure you're doing the right thing?" my mother finally asked, voice trembling. "Absolutely," I replied. "I'm taking back my life." Without looking back, I walked out, my heart shards rattling inside my chest. I knew what I had to do next, and the pain was only just beginning. The night air was thick and sickly sweet as I drove, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. The name of the man burned in my mind, the one Clara had betrayed me with, the one whose child I'd loved as my own. The gym was his second home, his haunt, the place where superiority oozed from his every pore. I parked, steel in my veins, and walked in, searching for the man whose arrogance had once felt like background noise. Tonight, he was the focus of the roaring storm inside me. He was there, leaning into a set of weights, lost in his reflection. I approached, our eyes locked, his surprised, then smug, then wary. "You ruined my life," I growled, voice low and intimate as hate. He scoffed, chin lifted. "David, be reasonable." Reason fell away. The rage within me snapped, primal and unstoppable. My fist connected with his face, the impact a brutal punctuation to months of silent suffering. He fell a bloody heap, his confidence shattered along with the lie. I didn't stop to revel in revenge. Instead, I left him there, a human wreck. I drove myself to the police station. It was time to accept the consequences. The desk officer's eyes widened as I walked in, breathless from violence and heartbreak. "I want to turn myself in," I said, voice drained and hollow. It was me. Legal proceedings blurred together over the next few days, grief mixing with numbness. Clara was now a pariah in town. The news of her infidelity burned through social circles like wildfire. She lost her job, her friends turned their backs, her parents hovered between mortification and sadness. The man in the gym, now scarred, now empty, unraveled just as quickly, his life a ruined garden of broken promises. As I sat in the stark interrogation room, my mind replayed every moment of the past year. Clara's distant eyes, Leo's laughter, the slow unraveling of trust. Each memory was another cut. I pleaded guilty and accepted my sentence, knowing that forgiveness was impossible now, not from others and not from myself. The day I left my old life behind was the day I realized the cost of betrayal. The cost was everything. And somewhere in the darkness, I wondered if Clara would ever truly understand what she'd done. Or if I'd ever be able to breathe again. Prison life was monotony laced with despair. Time lost meaning, hours bled into days, weeks. The walls felt as if they were closing in tighter with each passing moment, squeezing out hope and memory both. I did my best to keep myself upright, to not let the weight of regret drag me into nothingness. Every night I lay awake, replaying Clara's sobs and the chilling silence after the DNA bomb. Sometimes I hated her. Sometimes I hated myself more. Letters from the outside became fewer and thinner. My mother's careful handwriting, always trying to reassure me, now mostly just described Leo, how he was growing, what he was learning, as if I could still be a part of the life from which I'd been ripped. I could never bring myself to write back about Clara. That story had ended on a slammed door, but news trickled in. Clara was barely surviving, her reputation destroyed, the layers of betrayal peeled out for public consumption. Her parents held their shame close, clinging to hope she'd move elsewhere to start again. Anna barely spoke to her. The man who'd ruined it all spent his days isolated, nursing injuries, both physical and emotional. I focused on survival and on the small victories, learning to accept help, finding tiny glimmers of peace in routine. With time, something in me changed. The rage cooled, the pain hardened into something like resolve. I realized I would have to find a way to forgive not just Clara but myself if I ever wanted to remember what it was to feel truly alive. My release date finally came. I walked out into a world that felt unfamiliar, stripped of the trappings of my old identity. Alone, but freer than I'd felt since that first day in the living room. I didn't return to my hometown. Instead, I chose a new place, distant enough that the scars could fade and the wound might someday heal. I found work sweeping floors in a small shop, then slowly got myself together. New friends, new routines. Each day built a bridge over the abyss left by love and betrayal. But sometimes at night, I'd hear the echo of Clara's voice, wounded, pleading, and wonder, is there ever truly a way out of pain like ours? Building a new life took everything I had. Each morning, I reminded myself that my story was not over yet, that the brokenness could one day give way to hope if I kept moving forward. The first year was the hardest. Loneliness settled over me like cold mist, and the ache of loss never truly left. I met someone new. Her name was Elise, and her kindness was quiet, unassuming, just what I needed to remember how to trust again. She had her own wounds, scars pressed deep, but together we learned to shape something beautiful from the wreckage of our pasts. Our laughter was cautious at first, then easier, then real. Step by patient step, I found the will to believe in tomorrow. Clara tried to reach out once, a letter filled with apologies and anguish, but I knew the damage was irreparable. I thanked her for raising Leo as best she could, then asked her not to contact me again. Some wounds must be left to heal on their own. Years later, I watched the sunrise from the balcony of a small city apartment and breathed in the promise of renewal. For the first time, gratitude outweighed regret. I had survived the worst of heartbreak, and on the other side, I'd found a life worth living. The DNA bomb had silenced our old world, but it had also forced me to confront who I really was, someone stronger, braver, deeper than the frightened, broken man who slammed that door behind Clara. The pain didn't disappear, but it faded to a whisper, outshouted by new joy and hard-earned peace. I choose not to forget, but to live. There will always be echoes, but there's much more than silence in the story I've built since.